All right, good evening, guys. Tonight we are going to be talking about our next lesson, which is containing communism. And in particular, we are going to be looking at containing communism primarily in Europe. So our learning target for today, I can explain how the U.S. tried to stop communism from spreading throughout the world at the beginning of the Cold War. So like I said, even though we are talking about the entire world, we are primarily almost going to be featuring we're going to be exclusively talking about, Europe in particular. So, we talked about this in class. What is the U.S. doing right now? Isolation? No way. Doesn't exist. We are 100% all in. We are now in a state of intervention. We will do whatever it takes to stop the spread of communism. So we are going to develop a policy known as containment. And all containment is it's just an effort to block the Soviets from spreading communism. Okay? So, we're going to do this one of two ways. The first way that we are going to work on containment is we are going to create alliances with other countries. And the second way that we're going to do that is we are going to help out countries in need. And we're going to see that we did quite a lot for countries in need. Okay, so these are the two ways that we are going to follow this policy known as containment. And again, what are we containing? We are containing the spread of the Soviet Union. So, how do we stop it? Well, we stop it by making sure that the Iron Curtain does not get any further west. So, what is the Iron Curtain? All the Iron Curtain is it's simply a divide between the West, which is democratic, and the East, which is communist. Okay, so you can see this right here, this black line, that's the Iron Curtain. All of these countries, so Poland, Czechoslovakia, Hungary, Yugoslavia, those are all what's called satellite nations. Okay, and a satellite nation is simply a nation that is dependent upon the Soviet Union to survive. So, we are going to put two policies into play. The first policy that we are going to put into play is the Truman Doctrine. And we talked about, what did the Truman Doctrine do? It gave military aid and money to Turkey and Greece. Now, why Turkey and Greece? Well, here's why. Because I'm going to erase satellite nation. The reason that we're giving money to Turkey and Greece is because if you guys look on a map, Turkey and Greece are right in this area right here. Whoops, I'm trying to write it down. I don't know why it's not. Okay? Turkey and Greece are right here. So they are on the eastern side of the Iron Curtain. So we are worried that they would be affected by communism and the spread of communism before any other country. So that's why we go to Turkey and Greece first. Now, after we help out Turkey and Greece with the Truman Doctrine, we decide that we are going to enact another policy, and that policy is known as the Marshall Plan. And what the Marshall Plan did was it gave away, I don't want to say gave away, so we'll say it gave $12.5 billion to Western countries in need. So if you need money, we will give you money. Britain and France both received more than $2 billion through the Marshall Plan. Italy and West Germany received more than $1 billion throughout the Marshall Plan. So again, we talked about this in class when we focused on Turkey and Greece and the Truman Doctrine today. But what we need to do is we need to give these countries money so that their economies can be stimulated. And if their economies can be stimulated, they would be less likely to revert to communism. And that is exactly what happened. The Marshall Plan was a huge success. A lot of these countries got the help that they needed, and eventually they were stimulated by the early 1950s, and communism did not spread past the Iron Curtain. Now, the next thing we're going to look at, the Berlin Airlift. Now, when we look at how far we would go to stop communism, we are willing to save half of a city. And here's what I mean by that. So if you guys notice, this right here is a map of Germany, post-World War II. So Germany is divided into two parts. We have West Germany and we have East Germany. Now, West Germany is controlled by France, Great Britain, and the U.S. So it's divided into three, and that's not to scale. That's just to show you that it's just divided into three. East Germany is all controlled by the Soviet Union. Now, we went one step further. If you guys look at this little dot right here, that is the city of Berlin. And Berlin was also divided the exact same way as Germany. We have West Berlin, which was controlled by France, Britain, and the United States. And we have East Berlin, which was controlled by the Soviet Union. So, what Stalin decides to do in order to basically piss off and frustrate the Western world, to piss off the United States, is they close all access to West Berlin. So no roads, nothing like that. There's no highways, there's no train access, there's nothing. And the thought process was that they would close off West Berlin and they would starve all of these people. Unless they, being Britain, US, France, decided to give up control of Berlin and make it all communist. So the US retaliates. And how did they do that? Well, for just short of 1 year, we create the Berlin Airlift. And the Berlin Airlift, what it does is we literally flew supplies. We flew food. We flew gas. We flew medicine. We flew water. And we literally dropped these supplies into West Berlin. It sounds crazy, but it shows how far the U.S. was willing to go to contain the spread of communism. We would not even let the Soviet Union have a half of a city. The end result? Another success. The U.S. looks great, and the Soviets look foolish, and this only fuels the fire of the Cold War between the East and the West. Now, the last thing we're going to look at is we see the tensions are heating up even more. So, as a result of this, we see about 10 countries. Okay, 10 countries from Europe, plus the U.S., they team up and create something called NATO. And NATO stands for the North Atlantic Treaty Organization. And basically, the thought process with NATO is that we realized how dangerous the Soviet Union was, and so the agreement was that if the Soviets attack one, then they attack all. And why is this important? Because this is the first time that the U.S. has entered into a formal alliance, a military alliance, during peacetime. Okay, now you can argue whether this is truly peacetime, but this is the first time where we have not officially declared war on a country that we have entered into some sort of military alliance with another country. And that's it. So, if you guys can explain how the U.S. tried to contain communism throughout the world, focus in particular on Europe, then you guys are good to go. That's all I've got for you. Have a great night, and I will see you all tomorrow.